Welcome, one and all. And here we are the day after the liberation of Venezuela by our favorite and greatest president, Donald Trump. You know, I'm watching what the lunatic never Trumpers and liberals are saying, and they're so stupid, especially Rachel Maddow. And they all think that they are so enlightened, right? They think they're so smart, and they're not smart. They're as dumb as dirt. You know, this cup of coffee could logically see what President Trump's doing with Venezuela and Latin America, and they just can't see it. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. Oh man, so you know what's Trump doing here? And I know those of you that are ultra MAGA like me, you know, but for those that are liberally impaired in the audience, I got to get out the crayons, the fat pencils, and explain some things to them. If you look at all the problems facing this country, and you were to make a list of the top 5 issues that have been hitting this country the last few years, the border and drugs and crime are 3 of the top 5 issues that have been harming our country. And those all are coming from Latin America. And, you know, at the end of the Second World War, it wasn't just the military-industrial complex that got control. You know, the Marshall Plan, if you don't know about the Marshall Plan, Google it, read a Wikipedia, and learn something. I can't dumb down things too much, but with the Marshall Plan, we rebuilt Europe, and there was big money in rebuilding Europe. And that led to NATO, and there's big money in NATO, on top of all these endless wars all over the place for nothing that we've been involved in. And while all this greed of the corruption of the military-industrial complex and our corrupt government officials and presidents and members of Congress we've had all these years, we've totally ignored the Western Hemisphere. And all these problems, you know, drugs, the border, and high crime that are coming from Latin America affecting the country have been completely ignored. Welcome, Australia. And President Trump not only is securing Latin America, he's forming a great alliance of MAGA South American nations. Venezuela will be the next, but we have El Salvador, we have Honduras, we have Chile, we have Argentina, and there may be 1 or 2 others I'm leaving off. And these are major and very important Latin American, South American, Central American countries. And, you know, it's absolutely amazing what's going on here. And for Marjorie Taylor Greene and her ignorance and all this stuff, she's the go-to to trash Trump person now by everybody. So those issues with what Trump is doing in Latin America is going to solve the border issue, the crime issue, the drug, all those are being solved. But there's another thing too with Maduro and Venezuela. Maduro has been working with America's biggest enemies, China, Iran, I'll throw Cuba in there too, and the Islamic terrorist organizations, China and Iran primarily, but the others, you know, are working with them too, to totally cause division, chaos, and pressure on the United States. And the drugs, I mean, importing all these criminals, the Trinde and the MS-13ers that Maduro's been doing, that's caused incredible amounts of death, destruction, and disunity in this country. And it's part of our enemy strategy to defeat us. And they've been doing it through Minnesota. Well, they've been doing it through Minnesota. They've been doing it through Maduro. And what President Trump has done is absolutely amazing. It is outside of the box thinking. And the two regions that cause us the most problems are, you know, all the things we're talking about with South America, Latin America, and also the Middle East. He's, with the Abraham Accords and what he did to end the war with Israel and Gaza, he's formed partnerships and an alliance in the Middle East with the United States. This is just amazing foreign policy. This is the greatest foreign policy president this country has ever had. And if you can't see that what he's doing in Venezuela and all these other places is America first, you're just a dumbass, okay? I'm sorry. It's absolutely brilliant. That's it, you know, or corrupt, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, complete fraud and sellout, you know, and it's amazing. I do have a question. You guys, give me a yes or no on this. Venezuela's an OPEC nation. Does that mean we're an OPEC nation now? No, I guess so. We're an OPEC now. United States is an OPEC. We're going to be in Venezuela forever and ever. That's, you know, that's the way it is. And we're going to have permanent military bases down there. We're going to have an Army base. We'll probably have an Air Force base. I'm assuming we're going to have a naval base and get our own neighborhood secure. And Cuba's in big trouble. No more Venezuelan oil coming their way. How long can they hold out, Cuba, without Venezuelan oil before they collapse? Could you imagine if President Trump brought down the communists in Cuba? Welcome, welcome everyone. Yeah, I will have a podcast today. You won't want to miss it. I got a lot of good stuff for it. There's red light districts in every city. It's called prostitution. Or here in Miami, OnlyFans, right? I mean, give me a break. No, Venezuela is going to be amazing. You know, my daughter has a friend who lives in Venezuela, and he told my daughter yesterday. He's in Venezuela. He said yesterday was the happiest day of his life. You know, and he was my daughter's been telling he's like a Twitch streamer, you know, and that's what he does for a living. And my daughter was explaining to me, this was quite a while ago, about how the reason he Twitch streams is because he can do everything in crypto, and he uses crypto to feed his family. That the money down there is so worthless, it's so corrupt, and so many problems down there. And yeah, it's amazing. And this war got. It's funny. A lot of people on X have been commenting that the war was over and done with so quick before Tucker and MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, could go out there and start telling us how it was going to fail and was a bad idea. But it really shows you what happened in Venezuela yesterday. It shows you how powerful this country is, how advanced we are. You know, the thing is about the American military, these other militaries around the world, by the way, this goes for Russia and China as well, not just Venezuela and the others. These other countries around the world, their military is technologically like back in the 80s, some even the 70s, 80s like technology. And we're even further advanced than 2026, right? And we have overwhelming superiority. Miss Missy, welcome as a member to the channel. Thanks so much. Don't miss my podcast when I'm in the studio and take live calls. Now I'm just hanging out and having my morning coffee in front of Starbucks. But you'll see me in the studio later today. I lost my train of thought when I was thanking Miss Missy here. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the military. The militaries around the world, this goes for Russia and China as well. Their military technology is about where we were in some instances in the 70s, some in the late 80s, okay? And even though it's 2026, our military technology is at 2050 or beyond. It's far more advanced than even we realize. You know, like, you know, I'm using my iPhone right now, right? I got the new iPhone because my old iPhone finally crapped out on me. And how they have a new iPhone every year, they already have the technology for the iPhone that's like 5 or 10 years out. They just don't release it to us. They dribs and drabs, you know. But the military technology, they're not holding back their technology. They're like at 2050 technology. And we've always been that far ahead technologically from the rest of the world. And I got to tell you, when I watched, and I did on my program yesterday morning, I had a podcast here on the channel, and then I carried the president's press conference with Hegseth and Florida's own Marco Rubio, and they were giving direct warnings, I believe, to Putin and China, but in particular Putin. And I think the president and Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio were telling Putin, we could get you too if we wanted to. You guys agree with that? Yes or no on that? And Zelensky as well. Zelensky must be really crapping his pants right now. He's screwed over Trump. He's getting his people killed. He could have ended this war twice with peace agreements that President Trump had set up. But Putin is very scared. You know, Russia is not all that powerful. They're a third world country. They really are. And I mean, look, we went into Venezuela. You know, they have anti-aircraft. They have an air force. They have some navy. They've got ground forces. We went in. They didn't get a shot off. And boom, we went in and we got them, and we got them like that. You know, and Putin. Look at Putin. How long has this war been going on with Russia and Ukraine? How many years now? Putin and Russia suck. We're so superior to them. And there's no doubt in my mind that the president was telling Putin, you better, you know, blank or get off the pot, or we may pick you up too. And Zelensky. I wouldn't be so sure their missiles work in Russia. I wouldn't be so sure about that. You know, look at Venezuela. Venezuela's been working with Russia and Iran for years, and look what they had. And look how we kicked Iran's butt when we took out their nuclear facility. These countries are so far behind us, more than we know. The military technology is far more advanced than we realize. You could see that with this Venezuela operation. And I was talking yesterday, and let me know a yes or no if you agree with me on this in the chat. If President Trump was the president on 9/11, we would have had bin Laden captured or killed by the 15th. What do you guys think? If he was president on September 11th, do you agree, yes or no, that we would have had bin Laden captured or killed by the 15th, and, if not sooner, and the leaders of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban would have been in trouble too? Because we have the ability to do it. But these other presidents, they want to prolong the wars to make money for the military-industrial complex. Yeah. That's why we need Trump in 2028. 4 more years, guys. Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing. The Hispanic vote is forever gone for the Democrats. I mean, I'm seeing people that are Hispanic talking on X that they don't like Trump, but now they do. Been a lot of red pilling going on. And even these Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz here in Florida are supportive of President Trump, because in the Hispanic community, what he did is in Latin America, what President Trump did is the equivalent to the Berlin Wall falling. It really is. It was, it's Liberation Day. It's their Independence Day, their 4th of July. Yeah. And it's pretty badass move yesterday. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel, guys, all right? You know, and I'll tell you some other things too is, I know I live in Florida, so I know you guys may be freezing your tails off around the country, but I'm in South Florida, so it's, I could be wearing shorts right now if I wanted to, but short sleeves will do. Beautiful weather. That's right. That's Florida, man. Paradise. And the president's in town, right up the street at Mar-a-Lago. So the weather likes to behave when the president's in town, running a war, too. No, this is, these are some amazing times that we're in, you know. And the country has really been woken up to the capabilities of our country. If we had competent presidents who weren't corrupt, could you imagine? As great as our country is, how much further along we would be. You know, you come back in 10, 15, 20 years, And Latin America is going to be first world. North Florida gets cold. Yeah, it snows in North Florida. It was a little chilly yesterday. Welcome, everyone. Good morning to everyone. And you know, this Nobel Prize winner, look at the liberals. They immediately want to install her as president. President Trump said she's not popular enough. That's right. Sorry. She may be popular around the liberal social circles, but she's not popular enough in Venezuela to run. She could be an advisor. She could help out, but Marco Rubio is the president of Venezuela right now, and we're going to have a permanent military presence. President Trump said just because of the oil. And, you know, one of the things that President Trump talked about yesterday that was just fantastic is he was talking about how Venezuela stole the American oil companies' property away from them. So we're going to get that back, and they're going to pay us back for everything they've done to us in oil, which doesn't include just the military operation yesterday, doesn't just include the theft of from the American oil companies. It's all the death and destruction that Venezuela has brought to the United States, like Lincoln Riley is dead because of Maduro, right? Nungri, all the poor little girl, you know, and the crime and the border. We're going to get paid back for all of that through the oil. And I remember, I can't remember exactly when this was, but President Trump was on Neil Cavuto on Fox many years ago. I don't think he was president yet. And I don't remember if it was during the first campaign or before he was running for president, but he was talking about Bush and Iraq. And there was some big funding going on into Iraq. He says, why are we giving Iraq any money? They have unlimited amounts of oil, right? They don't. Not only do they not need any of our money, he said, if I were president, they'd be paying us back every penny we spent in free oil. I thought, wow, that was pretty amazing, right? Instead, we're buying oil from them at premium prices and all this crap, giving them money. But he's not going to do that with Venezuela. They're going to pay us back everything that they've stolen and everything that's been done to our country through oil. That's it. And they're an OPEC nation. They're very oil rich. And by the way, the people of Venezuela will probably be involved in some type of profit sharing with the oil. Trump's going to turn Venezuela into Dubai. You know, we take our MAGA cruise every year. We've been close. We've been to Curacao on at least one cruise. I can't remember if we've gone to Curacao once or twice. I think we just went once. And you can see Venezuela from Curacao. But we may be taking cruises to Venezuela in the next couple of years. Who knows? But President Trump's going to turn it into a super rich country where people have a high quality of life, and that's going to spread throughout Latin America. See, Latin America has all the resources that we have in the United States of America. They're just run by corrupt gangsters and have been forever. So there's no reason why Latin America is the third world. It could very well be the first world like we are, and Trump's making that happen. Oh, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that are nervous. This Sheinbaum cartel president of Mexico, she's crapping her pants, as are the cartel. You think the cartels must be freaking out, the cartel leaders right now. They should be trying to make deals with the United States and cash out. That's right. Yeah, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. I mean, it's so amazing of this operation, and I don't know what technology we have to do this, because they were on the down low about it, but in the press conference, General Raisin Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the president were talking yesterday about some technology, some weapon we have that just shut off all the electricity for Venezuela. I'd love to know how we did that without affect. It wasn't an EMP because it didn't affect our equipment. It's absolutely amazing. Yep. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. And it was more than just the power grid. It was some type of technology. It's not that they bombed the power. You don't want to bomb the power station. Well, Bush would, because then one of the Bush donors could get paid to rebuild it. But you don't want to blow up the power station. You just want to shut the power off during the operation. And this is what really pisses off the Never Trumpers and the Democrats and the media. Did you see the Maduro perp walk in New York? It's in all the papers today, the perp walk. You know, they're pissed off. They wanted to see a perp walk with Trump. They're pissed off. They didn't get their Trump perp walk. They got the Maduro perp walk, so they're pissed off about that. Yep, FAFO. By the way, those of you that are members, if you become a member to my channel, like Ms. Missy just did, you get your name and a color so you stand out in the chat. Plus, you get access to all the members-only emojis in there. Oh, man, I tell you. You know, there is a Democrat, though, that's very happy about Venezuela being liberated and becoming the 51st state, is Tim Walz, because he's hoping this Minnesota fraud will be out of the news. Well, it'll be out of the news for a few days, but don't worry. The Leering Center is not off the hook yet. They're not going to get off the hook, even though the news cycle might change. This is a great day. I'm very curious to see how things play out on the Sunday shows today. So I'll have a podcast this afternoon, and I got a lot of things I want to cover and show and play, which you'll get to see and hear on the podcast. But I'm very curious to see, like, Brennan and everything on the Sunday shows. Margaret Brennan and all those people. Yeah, WTF. I mean, it's really, yeah, real talk. Thank you very much, 777. Appreciate that. Real talk. That's right. Now, those of you that are new, when I podcast, I'm in my studio. I take live calls. There's a toll-free number. Those of you that watch me on YouTube can call me on the program. This is beyond Reagan. Reagan didn't even do things at this level. I mean, you know, no, Reagan did not do anything even close to this. Cuba is in big trouble because they already have an oil and gas shortage, and they've been getting the oil from Venezuela, probably for nothing, because Cuba's been, you heard Marco yesterday, Marco Rubio said, Cuba's basically been colonizing and running Venezuela, that their leaders and intelligence agencies, it's all Cuban, so Cuba's probably been getting oil from Venezuela for free. So they're not going to get any oil anymore, and there's an embargo on Cuba. So President Trump's not going to let people take oil to Cuba, and they won't be able to make it without Venezuela. Will not be able to make it without Venezuela. What's left of the Cuban economy is all based on them being able to get oil from Venezuela, and that is 100% over now, and it's not coming back. I think it's just amazing how quick this happened. You know, you don't think we could have gotten Saddam Hussein this quick? Of course we could have, but Bush and Cheney wanted to make money for their military-industrial complex donors, so they prolong everything. Reagan on steroids times infinity. I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah, Cuba could be the 52nd state, that's fine. Cuba's beautiful, man. I've flown over Cuba a bunch of times, but on our cruises, we don't go to Cuba, but we sail past it. It's so beautiful, but there's nothing there. It's amazing. I've flown over Cuba many, many times, and you know, because you fly to Miami to, you know, South America or something, you go over Cuba, and it's so beautiful, but there's nothing. You don't see any buildings. You hardly see a road. It's something. You know, the Monroe Doctrine clearly states that there will be no foreign influence in the Western Hemisphere. And those liberally impaired people, Central and South America, are part of the Western Hemisphere. And this country has just let the Western Hemisphere go down the crapper and become third world. There's, you know, I remember about 20 years ago, I went to Peru for about, I don't know, about a week, and went to the Nazca lines, and I was in Lima and all that. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around the poverty in South America, when they have all the resources that we have in North America. But the United States and Canada does okay because they're, you know, ripping us off all these years and are on our coattails. But you get to Mexico on south, and you know, you go to Mexico all the way south to the tips of Chile, and it's just corruption. They're run by gangsters and drug cartels and corrupt public officials. And it's been that way since before the modern era, right? And now they're going to finally have a chance. They're going to be liberated. Who is the, oh boy, what is the name of the guy, the big revolutionary in South America? He's kind of like the George Washington of Latin America, of South America. What is his name? He was their leader. He was trying to unite all of South America in the 1800s. He even had generals that fought with Washington. I can't think of his name. If anybody knows who I'm talking about, let me know. I just cannot remember the guy's name. Early 1800s. Oh. No, long before Che Guevara. Well, it doesn't matter. President Trump is the George Washington of Latin America. This alliance that, yep, that's right. Bolivar. Thank you very much, Lady Alley 864. Bolivar. This is what Bolivar wanted, what President Trump is doing. And in Latin America, they know it. You know, Jules, you got it too. Bolivar. Thank you very much. And what he's doing is this incredible alliance. Look who we have, these MAGA countries. Venezuela's being added to the list. We got Venezuela, Argentina, right? Chile, El Salvador. Which one did I leave off? There's a fifth one. Honduras. You know, we have these, we have these, if you don't know who Bolivar is, look him up. Pretty amazing, you know. We have this MAGA, Colombia's on the list. We have these MAGA countries that are tired of living in poverty, tired of being pushed around by these drug cartel gangsters, right? You know, I mean, yeah, why do you think they got to wear masks, the police in South America? Because it's, you know, it's dangerous. You know, that's why our ICE guys got to wear them here, because they're going up against these South Americans, criminals. And what South America has been suffering through forever and a day, it's over now. This is the beginning of just an incredible new era for all of Latin America, where Latin America is entering the first world. The only place in Latin America that's a first world place is Puerto Rico, and that's only because they're a territory of the United States. We're going there on our MAGA cruise in March. I love Puerto Rico. It's my favorite place to go in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I love Puerto Rico. But, you know, he's reshaping all of Latin America. That's it. And it is so brilliant. And Marco Rubio, and you can give me another example that proves me wrong. I'm open to it, but I don't think you can think of one. Marco Rubio is the greatest Secretary of State that this country has ever had. He is the only Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, that's doing things that's going to make life better here. Liberating Latin America from the drug cartels and these gangster Maduro types, who's a cartel leader himself, you know, that is so historic. Marco Rubio is going to go down in history as one of the greatest Latin American men in history. Yeah, no doubt about it. And it was the perfect pick. You know, as soon as President Trump picked Marco Rubio, I knew why he was picking him. I didn't think we'd see this. This is amazing. But because he was focusing in on Latin America, because that's where we have the problem, the southern border. It's amazing. You know, Marco Rubio may stay Secretary of State with J.D. Vance. People think running mate. He may stay Secretary of State. You know, cabinet members do hang over to the next president. It's happened. Right? George W. Bush's defense secretary stayed on with Obama. And that was even a party change. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And don't miss my podcast where I take live calls on the channel later today, because a lot of things are going to be discussed there. This is just amazing. It really is. And, you know, if you've seen some of the interviews from Venezuelans, there's been this whole area down in Miami where the Venezuelans have been hanging out in front of this Chevron. Have you seen it on TV? In Doral, which is like it's a suburb of Miami, and that's where the president's golf course and resort is in Miami, the Doral Resort. It's near the University of Miami, and I've been listening to the interviews with the Venezuelans in Miami, and they're talking about going back to Venezuela. They want to be back in their homeland. Oh. Well, the United States has more oil than any other country in the world. We're the most oil-rich nation in the world. You put us together with the oil of Venezuela, the power of the United States and Venezuela. Think about this. You know, the Middle East, the only reason the Middle East, these Muslim countries have any juice is because they got oil. Remember, Venezuela is an OPEC nation. OPEC may become irrelevant with what Trump's doing. You form an alliance between the oil-producing nations of the United States and Venezuela, we would be more powerful than OPEC. That's right. And all these environmental lunatics from the Sierra Club that stop us from building oil refineries, we're going to build them in Venezuela. I mean, think about that. And there's also oil in the Caribbean, but the oil power of the United States combined with Venezuela would make OPEC obsolete. You know, and you heard President Trump talking yesterday, and that you know, they can't even pump their oil down there because everything's falling apart and out of date with what's down in Venezuela right now. So the president, they're going to secure the oil areas, and they're going to rebuild the oil wells and everything. It's going to be amazing. And American companies that had their wells and property stolen from them, they're going to be setting up business in Venezuela. The people of Venezuela are going to be rich like the people of Dubai. They're all going to be driving Lambos. They don't even have food right now. You know, they've been starving down there. You know, you've seen these stories. People are eating dogs. Do you really think people in Venezuela want to be eating dogs? They love their dogs like we do. That's how desperate it's been. And they're going to be driving Lambos by the time Trump is done making them oil rich. It's amazing. Yeah. And good for them. They've suffered enough. Think about, you know, with Trump, and believe me, the cartels of Mexico, those cocaine factories, President Trump hardly makes a statement about anything without mentioning those cocaine factories in Colombia. You know he's going to take out those cocaine factories. See, we're going to have a permanent military presence. President Trump's done with Europe. Okay, he's done with Europe. You know, we're going to have a permanent military presence in Venezuela, which borders Colombia. Those cocaine factories, they're history. History. And if you're a cartel guy, you need to cash out and go retire somewhere, okay? Because it's over. And believe me, that corrupt president of Mexico, the drug cartel president, Sheinbaum, she and these cartel people, they, believe me, have been talking on the phone in a panic attack. And by the way, during these panic attacks they're having, you know, the United States NSA and CIA have been monitoring all their communications, getting intelligence data for more targets. These cartel people are all done. That's right. I mean, this is boom, boom, boom. And, you know, when they think about this, when now that we've taken over Venezuela and they got Maduro's house and offices, can you imagine the amount of intel that they've gotten on drug cartel activities around the world to add to what we already know? Yeah, they got all their cell phone numbers now of all the cartel leaders. They already have gotten into them. They have all their information, and from their family members and everything, they're gathering all the intel on the bank accounts, the locations, where they live, where their families live, who they're dealing with around the world. Trump has access to everything and it was interesting when Marco Rubio mentioned the Venezuelan intelligence service is basically run by Cubans. We now have their intelligence bureau, so we have gathered intel on so many things. Oh, this is the. Let me tell you, you know, I've been watching every military action that this country has made since I've been coherent on television. I've never seen one done so swiftly and as important as this so far as America First interest. You know, stabilizing Latin America and bringing them into the first world and getting rid of these gangsters and drug cartel leaders, it doesn't get more America First than that. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to my channel. My name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Oh, whatever they have, whatever they're producing in oil now is going to be multiplied by, I don't even know how much, 100 times, 200 times, 500 times. Yeah, we're stabilizing South America. Venezuela is one of the most important countries in all of Latin America because they're oil rich. You know, and there's more money in the oil than there is in the drugs. And the drug cartels, you know, President Trump said yesterday that illegal drugs coming into the country by sea are down 97% in the last few months since we started taking out these boats. Plus, we shut down the border. And he mentioned, I've heard he mentioned twice yesterday about on the Fox and Friends interview in the morning on the phone before the press conference that drugs are coming in from Canada. So Canada, he's given Canada a couple warnings yesterday about drugs coming in from Canada. He shut down the drugs coming in from Latin America almost completely. So what little is making it in is coming in from our northern border from Canada. So Canada was warned yesterday by President Trump. Now, this is, I mean, think about it. With the United States being the #1 producer of oil in the world, we have more oil than we have more oil than Saudi Arabia. We have more oil than any other country on the planet. You put our oil power, and oil makes the whole world go round, right? Remember what they said in the Beverly Hillbillies? Black gold, Texas tea. You put our oil wealth and our oil power together with the oil production power of Venezuela, how you don't get more economically powerful than that. It's amazing. And by the way, we're not going to have any problems deporting all these Venezuelan illegals. You know why? Because Venezuela, since Marco Rubio is now the president of Venezuela, President of Venezuela, Marco Rubio, who has like 18 jobs, okay, they're going to take them all back now. That's right. These aren't dreams, Tom. Haven't you seen what's happened in the last 24 hours? This is what's going on. This is what's going on. These aren't dreams. This is what's happening. It's most of what I've talked about is already has happened or is in play right now. Marco Rubio is the president of Venezuela. That's right. Oh, man. Give me press 1 if you would like Trump to run in 2028 and be president for a third term. What do you guys think? I think we could use a third term of President Trump, don't you? Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at that. If anyone at Mar-a-Lago is watching, look at that. Everybody wants Trump to run in 2020. Were any of you watching that time that I was live streaming in front of Mar-a-Lago and the Secret Service drove up behind me? They was watching the stream. So, hey, they watched the stream at Mar-a-Lago. Julie was there then? Yes. Yeah, you guys remember that? That was crazy. That's right. Oh, man, it does not get better than this. It doesn't get better than this. Oh, yeah. If you go inside, when I went inside Mar-a-Lago, the inside of Mar-a-Lago, when you go in the gate, there's an army in there. I mean, I could believe there's an army in there, and it's like it's almost when you walk into the gate at Mar-a-Lago, it's almost like a portal like in Stargate, because you know Florida and Palm Beach is beautiful here, but when you walk through the gates of Mar-a-Lago, it's like you've walked into a portal into Hawaii. It's like Hawaii in there with an army. It's really cool. Yeah, Trump 2028, baby. That's right. Of course we don't. You don't want. What's wrong with trillionaires? Oh, did you guys see that Elon Musk had dinner with the president and first lady last night at Mar-a-Lago? See, I think Elon and Trump always stayed friends. I think that was a fake out feud between the two of them, because the Democrats, the liberals, the never-Trumpers were firebombing the Tesla dealerships. And they did that to save lives. I think it was a total fake out. He's offering free Starlink to Venezuela. MAGA has just begun. Are you kidding? Yeah. And Elon was at Mar-a-Lago on New Year's Eve at the New Year's Eve party too, but he had dinner with the president last night, with the first lady. I wonder what they were talking about. Was it just social, or were they talking about Venezuela? And Elon, you know, is giving free Starlink internet to all of Venezuela. I'm thinking about getting Starlink for the house. Does anyone have Starlink? We have it on our cruise ships. I don't know if it's fast enough for me to live stream in the morning, but I'd like to have it as a backup, like during hurricane season. That's right. Welcome, everyone. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And President Trump is just doing amazing, amazing, amazing things. I was talking earlier about Lincoln Riley would be alive if it was not for Maduro sending these monsters to our country, raping and murdering our women, right? And God knows what else, how many other people have been victimized because of Maduro in this country. It's all over now. It's all over. FAFO. That's right. FAFO. You know? Oil makes the world go round. It's the most important resource on the planet. And the United States and Venezuela are going to be ruling the world. The cartels, the cartel guys, you know, one thing, you know, about top criminals, you know, like these El Chapos that are still running around down there, they're really not that smart. They're scumbag criminals. They're not smart. So it's hard to say whether or not they're self-aware enough to be worried. Right? You know, it's hard to say. I mean, if you're a normal person and you're a drug cartel leader, well, if you're a normal person, you wouldn't be running a cartel. But if you're a clear-thinking person and you're running a cartel, it's not like in the movies where all these guys are just like sophisticated businessmen, like the Chicken Man in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Okay, they're not all sophisticated, well-educated, classically educated businessmen who have just chosen the business of the drug business. They're usually scumbag, ignorant, uneducated people, so they may not be self-aware enough to be nervous, you know? Yeah, people are wearing shorts. Florida is beautiful, man. Move to Florida. Oh, there aren't that many Democrats left, but the few that are around are completely unstable. You know, I was watching Rachel Maddow, who kind of, you know, when I see Rachel Maddow, you know who Rachel Maddow looks like to me? She looks like the girl in that 80s movie, Just One of the Guys, when she dresses up as a guy. She kind of looks like that. Or Elvis Costello in the 80s. Not Elvis Costello today, Elvis Costello in the 80s. But she was like having a breakdown yesterday, Rachel Maddow. She thinks because she went to Princeton, she doesn't understand anything. She cannot logically think. Rachel Maddow has the same same mental capacities as Rosie O'Donnell. I would say they're about equal. Rosie O'Donnell and Rachel Maddow. Raising Cain is absolutely amazing, that guy. You know, I did a live stream for Patreon supporters last night. If any of you Patreon supporters are there, I talked about this. President Trump had been mentioning Raising Cain and that story about ISIS for years in the Trump rallies, right? And I always wondered, did he mind that? You never know, you never know. And obviously, General Raising Cain is MAGA. No question about it, right? He does not mess around, that guy. Could you imagine if General Milley was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and that idiot Lloyd Austin, Biden's the Autopin Secretary of Defense, were running the Pentagon? Do you think this operation would have been a success? Hell no. Now, you know, when you're, you know, and it's an interesting thing because Raising Cain's an Air Force general. Trump brought him out of retirement to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and promoted him. He retired as a lieutenant general and gave him another star, made him chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And I've never seen an Air Force general so tough. Because the Air Force, not to take anything away from the Air Force, but he's like a Marine Corps general, isn't he? You know, a Marine Corps general, those guys scare the crap out of you. You know, but he's, you know what I mean? He's probably the toughest Air Force general I have ever freaking seen. He's absolutely amazing. He's the greatest, I would say, I think this is Raising Cain is the greatest Air Force general since Jimmy Doolittle. Way too early to claim anything about Venezuela. Okay. You tell yourself that. Well, the president only works about, well, Patton was an Army general. I'm talking about Air Force general. Yeah, he's like General Patton. He's our Patton. Yeah. He's a lot like Patton. Yeah, he doesn't smile. He does not smile. That's what you want in a general. You want a badass general that people are afraid of. You don't want some Millie who's a social justice warrior, right? Think about it. Who was that transgendered admiral that worked for Biden? What was the name of that person? The transgender admiral that was in the Biden White House. What was their name? I cannot remember their name. I know somebody in the chat will remember. Rachel Levine, yes. Do you know, this is a true story, you can look this up. Do you know that Rachel Levine and General Milley not only went to high school together, they played on the same football team in high school together at the same time. So that's what you got with General Milli Vanilli, this social justice warrior. And Raising Cane, I mean, look at what happened. You know, General Milley, on January 6th, he calls the head of the Chinese army and checks in. He should have been arrested, court-martialed, and should be in Leavenworth. You know, and then we got Raising Cane, who's just the biggest badass chairman of the Joint Chiefs that we've ever had, and I've followed a lot of them in my time. I would not mess with that guy. No way. No way. And you put Raising Cane and Pete Hegseth together. Oh my goodness. You know. Could you imagine if you had a tug of war, right? You had tug of war, and it was Raising Cane and a tug of war match, right? Raising Cane versus Tom Homan. Could you imagine? Oh man, I'd pay to watch that. That would be, who do you, those are two badasses. Yep. Yep. I mean, this operation in Venezuela, I mean, we didn't even lose any equipment. And did you notice how, I've seen President Trump twice now, in the press conference and on Fox, before the press conference. He keeps referencing the failed mission that Jimmy Carter led to free the hostages. Remember? Jimmy Carter sent the Green Berets to rescue the Iranian hostages, and everybody got killed. I mean, the helicopters crashed in the desert and blew up. Norman Schwarzkopf wasn't the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Yeah. That was, I can't remember the name of that what was the name of the operation of Jimmy Carter's where the helicopters crashed in the desert to rescue the Iranian hostages? It was called Desert something. Was it Desert One? That doesn't ring a bell. I can't remember the name of the mission, but it was an embarrassment. Yeah, bad president, bad leadership. No, that wasn't Desert Storm. But, you know, and I love how I'm watching these never-Trumpers and idiot liberals on television saying, oh, he went in there, he has no plan. Eagle Claw, maybe it was Desert Eagle. Was it Eagle Claw or Desert Eagle? That sounds familiar. Well, regardless, it was a failure, just like everything else. Eagle Claw, like everything else that Jimmy Carter did. And President Trump keeps referencing that. I mean, you know why? Because he wants people to look it up. Because, you know, most people don't even know about that, you know, and they look it up now and they're like, wow, we're pretty badass now. And they're also making a big deal that they had Twitter on the big monitor behind them at the makeshift situation room at Mar-a-Lago. Of course they did. You know, I was watching I did a live stream, like, I don't know, about 3 a.m. yesterday when this was going on, and I was going through X, and was he Eagle Claw? Okay. Look up Operation Eagle Claw, guys, with Jimmy Carter online, and compare it to what happened yesterday. And the reason they were monitoring X is because you were getting live footage from Venezuela, from people that were filming and showing everything from all these different angles, and it was really amazing, you know, in real time, you know, and so it was a good source of intel on how, not only how the operation was going, but how the people of Venezuela were reacting to it. And of course, you know, the people of Venezuela have viewed everything as a liberation of their country. Thank the Lord Elon bought Twitter. Could you imagine? It's the #1 news outlet in the world in the existence of humanity, X. And if Elon had not bought it, all that stuff yesterday would have been blocked out. Yeah, the United States now controls and occupies Venezuela. Damn straight, you're right. That's right. Now, I don't know if we want to make them a state. They'd get 2 senators and a whole bunch of House members, so, you know. But we could make them a territory or a satellite state. No, they'll be independent eventually. Are you kidding me? The people of Venezuela are literally starving to death down there. They don't have food. It's going to be so turned around down there. And the president of Colombia, you know, he's still out there threatening Trump. Did you hear what President Trump said yesterday? He better watch his ass. That's what the president said. Isn't it nice having such a badass as president? I love it. Makes you feel secure, doesn't it? Absolutely. He said he better watch his ass. That was absolutely amazing. That's right. And think about it. Everything that President Trump is doing is what they shot him in Butler to try to stop him from doing, right? All this greatness. El Salvador, yeah. You know, we've got this incredible Latin America alliance that the president's putting together. The U.S. military doesn't play. That is so true. I mean, you know, we've always had this level of superiority around, well, at least in my lifetime. We've had this level of superiority since the 50s and 60s. It's just never been used. Because the other presidents, you know, if any other president did this, we'd have a 10-year war in Venezuela. They don't want these wars to end. They start them to prolong them to feed the military-industrial complex. That's it. And President Trump is not owned by them. You know, I remember my whole life, oh, you can't have a businessman as president. Oh, you can't run the government like a business. I was listening to President Trump yesterday talking about the restructuring of the oil industry in Venezuela. He's a businessman. He understands. He's going to bring in the top oil people, and they're going to fix the oil industry in Venezuela. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Pete Hegseth, he's just amazing. Were there any transgender Delta Force down there in Venezuela? I don't think so. I'm hoping we get to see the video of Maduro running from the U.S. Special Forces, trying to run into his safe space. President Trump said he got there, but he got to the room, but he couldn't get the door shut. And he said we could have gotten in there in 47 seconds anyway. But I'm hoping we get to see at least a still, because I imagine, because we saw Maduro in that Nike sweatsuit, right? When they got him on the Iwo Jima, I just have this vision of him and his wife running to that safe room in their underwear, right? Don't you? Exactly. Oh my goodness. Trying to shut the door like a coward. Couldn't get it shut. Couldn't get in there. That must have been some battle in that house. I mean, they went through some heavy resistance. They said there was a lot of resistance at Maduro's. I don't know, was it a palace? I'm not sure what it was. The presidential palace, whatever it was, and they took him out. It feels good to live in the most powerful country in the world, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, guys, make sure that you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And later today, I'll live stream my podcast here Those of you that are new, I take live calls on my podcast. So when you're watching me on YouTube, there's a toll-free number you can call, and whether you agree or disagree with me, and we'll have discussions. I'm really curious if the Sunday shows, well, welcome, Thomas Knapp, just subscribe, welcome. This afternoon when I podcast, I'll play some clips from the Sunday shows, I'm sure. I'm very curious to see how they react to it. You know, one of the things you've heard me talk a lot about in the last few months with President Trump, they talk about these 80-20 issues. That's bullcrap. President Trump is doing things that are universally good, right? Shutting down the drug cartels, ridding our cities of crime. And the Democrats keep opposing these things. And, you know, look in just in the last week, right? Nick Shirley dropped his Minnesota story a week ago Friday, right? So look what they were doing all last week, defending these third world Somali criminals who have stolen $9 billion with Tim Walz and the Minnesota Democrats. So they're defending the largest financial scandal in U.S. history. And now, since yesterday, they're out there defending a dictator who's a drug cartel leader, Maduro. I mean, these are not 80-20 issues. What President Trump is doing are universally good things, okay? You know, and the Democrats, the positions they're taking are freaking insane, aren't they? Yes, good MAGA morning, Louisiana. Welcome. Yeah, there's not anything. They are on the wrong side of every issue because everything they do is dependent on and look at this Mamdani. Who the freak does he think he is? Mamdani called President Trump yesterday to tell him his thoughts on Maduro and Venezuela. You know, Mamdani, this idiot mayor in New York, he's trying to put himself on the same level as President Trump. I was surprised Trump took the call. He's got to stop taking his calls. I mean, he's trying to put himself on the same level as President Trump. He's not on the same level. He's an idiot. Did you see him on his fake subway ride? He was sitting in I'm sure you've seen this on X, and I'm pretty sure I shared the photo yesterday. Oh, by the way, guys, catch me on Newsmax. I'll be on Newsmax today at 3:30 Eastern Time. The Wendy Bell Show. You'll see me in a suit and tie, and I'm wearing a Trump tie. So 3:30 Eastern Time on Newsmax. I was on yesterday too, but 3:30 Eastern Time, Newsmax today. Catch me in my suit and Trump tie. And I'm wearing this mic, but you can't see it. It's hidden. Appreciate it. But these are things that are universally good to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Democrats, what issue are the Democrats taking a position on that's not the wrong side these days? I can't think of anything. Nothing. They're starting the new year off on a really bad foot, which is good. You know, President Trump literally dodged a speeding bullet in Butler, right? Nicked his ear. It was amazing, you know? And he survived 2 never-Trumper assassination attempts, Butler and then at his golf course after that. And it's amazing. And you see what he just did yesterday in Venezuela. You know, a man who could do all these things and get elected to a second and non-consecutive term after the 4 years of lawfare, all those corrupt public officials arresting him, getting mugshots, suing him, making ridiculous claims, you know, and he made it back in the White House for a second and non-consecutive term. All these things. You don't think he can win the midterms? Hell yeah, he can. And we could actually gain seats in both houses if we have a large turnout. So you know, we got to swamp them at the polls just like we did in the presidential election in 24. We do what we did in November 24, we'll not only maintain the House and the Senate, we will gain seats, especially in the House. This is absolutely amazing. You know, and that's why President Trump works 20 hours a day. He doesn't sleep because he's doing a lot. This year is going to be a big year. It's going to be non-stop Trump just kicking butt all year long. We're only just seeing the beginning of it. That's it. I mean, this is the year of Trump. And wait until the stories come out with the massive tax returns. And, you know, a lot of people that are in the tip economy or work overtime, they've been overpaying in their taxes last year. So they're going to get a massive income tax return. I can't wait for that news cycle. Oh yeah, people, this year, people can't wait to file their taxes because of the big, beautiful bill and all these great Trump tax cuts. Going to put more money in everyone's pocket. You know, it's absolutely amazing. That's right, Daniel. Kicking butt and taking names. Brilliant. Well, of course, to get an income tax return, you got to earn money. So, you know, so a lot of liberals don't earn money. The Social Security recipients, they're getting $6,000 in a tax deduction on the Social Security, so no taxes on Social Security. Social Security recipients are going to get a huge refund. I mean, we're in just the most incredible era. You know, make America great again means a lot of things, but, you know, President Trump, you know, the economic boom that this country saw in the post-war period in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, it could be that way every year, forever and ever, with competent leadership, which is what we have now, competent leadership. Something we have never had. That's right. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, guys, okay? This is where MAGA comes to talk. Man, oh man, could you imagine, what would this country be like if Kamala Harris had won that election? Oh my goodness. What would it be like? Could you imagine? How many people are alive today because of President Trump that wouldn't be? In the second term alone, right? How many people, you know, right now, think about this. Right now in the United States, because of President Trump said yesterday, the illegal drugs coming in by sea from the cartels has been reduced by 97%. Between that and shutting down the drug trade at the southern border, right now, the largest drug rehabilitation program in the history of the world is taking place because the illegal drug prices have gone through the roof because they're in short supply. So the junkies are getting weaned off of their drugs. So we've got the largest drug rehabilitation, rehab, detox going on in the history of the planet right now because of President Trump. Think about that. How many lives is that saving? Not just people that aren't ODing, but they're not out there doing crime that's drug related or to get money to buy drugs. It's a big the Trump detox program. It's going on right now everywhere in the United States. It's amazing. And they don't even give him credit for that. Nobody even talks about that. Maybe that's why a lot of these liberals are upset. They can't get their drugs for their parties. Exactly. It's an absolute win. You know, and the things that President Trump is doing are things that no one thought was possible. Shutting down the border, right? Lowering crime in these blue cities. Look what he's done in D.C. Shutting down the drug cartel. Who would have thought any of these things were possible? And he's done it. Overturning Roe v. Wade. All these things that he's done are things that everyone thought were impossible to do, and he's accomplished all of them, and more. Oh, it's been shut down all year, and the wall construction continues, and they're just not focusing on the wall construction, but one day you'll wake up and find out in the news it's done, and the president's going down there for a big event. He's saving that for a big press event. Well, I don't understand how you could disagree with any of these things that I've gone over that Trump is doing. because everything he's doing is positive. How could you disagree with shutting down the drug cartels, or shutting down the border, or deporting Trin de Agua? I mean, look at this. They've surrounded themselves, the Never Trumpers and the liberals and the media, with this fake Maryland man. They got him now. He's got a TikTok, right? I mean, you know, this guy's a human trafficker, which is slave trafficking. And here you have Mamdani. This is what I forgot to mention. He goes on the subway with this fake spontaneous subway ride, Mamdani, the other day, and he sat in a seat reserved for the disabled, for handicapped. Did you see that? You can see it right over his right shoulder. He was sitting in the handicap section. So typical. Oh yeah. The cocaine industry's days are over. That's right. That's right. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? And don't forget, later today, subscribe, click the notification bell. I'll have a podcast later today. I'll be taking live calls, and you can call me. It's a toll-free number, all right? Take care. Thanks for watching. If you're new, welcome. I'll see you next time. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Take care.